William E. Ryan, Fire Controlman, 3rd class. They couldn't draft 18, 19 years old at the beginning of the war. But in the summer of 42, they needed more men. So the Congress passed a law they could draft 18, 19. Well, I always had my mind set on the Navy, but I came home one day from work, and in my place you were classified 1A. And I said to my mother, I'm going up and join the Navy. So I used to join the Navy back in them days in the post office. They sent me from our post office to our post office in Haverhill. And then there you went to Boston. So that's how I got in the Navy. My father was in World War I, and I told him I wasn't going to sleep in a foxhole. If I'm going to go, I'm going to drown. So that's how it happened. I went in the Navy in December of 1942. I was 18 years old. Well, I got my orders. That's another problem. I had a lot of problems in the service. I don't know why they always picked on me. But I went in there with 6 other fellows from Amesbury. These fellows got through everything, and they come to me and interview me. Well, they want to know how long I'd been up, what I go up for. I went from a lieutenant to a captain, trying to find that there was 2 William Ryans, and they were trying to find out which Ryan had the prison record. So eventually, I finally called my mother and told her what was going on. And finally, at 7 o'clock, they got it straightened out, and they swore me in, and I went home. And the end of December, we all got called up. We was told to go to Post Office Square in Boston, and from there we marched to South Station and picked up a troop train. And they never told us where we were going to go or nothing. That's all. We headed south, so we thought we were going down to Bainbridge. But then we turned around and we got up in the Great Lakes. I was up in there at midnight, and of course the train could run right into the boot camp. They had track right in there. And of course that night they were boom, boom, giving you the shots. And so, yeah, that's how it, I was up there January, February, and March. We used to have to go out and do a fire patrol. We'd have this big plaque on us, and what to do if there was a fire. There was 2 of us. I remember one night I was out in the snowstorm, and was it cold. But hey, I was just a kid, 18 years. Well, yeah, no, I had turned 19 because my birthday is in January 18th. So I had turned 19 years old. I can remember once the whole company had a march and sing Anchors Away, and we had to be in step singing Anchors Away. And we were out there a hell of a long while before we all got all in step singing Anchors Away. And no, I met a lot of good friends. Oh yes, this is something that when I first went in the boot camp, they didn't have bunks for us. We were in a cubicle, 4 in a cubicle with their hammocks. And my God, we'd tip over and reach the other guy, and pretty soon all 4 of us would be on the floor. Well, that lasted 2 weeks, and then they finally put bunks in. But after a while, I could get in that hammock and turn over, and I wouldn't. But it was just the idea of getting there. I've never slept in a hammock before, because I used a hammock a lot when I was out in the Pacific, nighttime hang. But yeah, boot camp, I enjoyed it. I didn't get in any trouble. I spent 3 months up in the Great Lakes during the winter of 43, colder than hell up there. When I graduated from boot camp, I was sent home, and when I came back, I was sent to naval school down in Biloxi, Mississippi. They call us the Armed Guard. A lot of people don't understand the armed guard. We were sailors put on a merchant marine ship. 12 of us were trained together on 4-inch, 5-inch, 40 millimeters, 20 millimeters, even sidearms. And we trained as a group. And when we graduated, they took another 12, made 24 of us. And they sent us to the Armed Guards School down there in New Orleans, yeah. And they finally sent the 12 of us by train to Savannah, Georgia. And there that night, we loaded ammunition all good part of the night. And the next morning we got up. I had one of the first duties on the different areas where we'd have a microphone, but I'd bend over like this. I got seasick, and when I bent over, I'd press that button, and then me all through the ship. And they kept saying, Ryan, if you don't stop that, we're going to come up and throw you overboard. But you know, it's a funny thing. That's the only time I was seasick. I went around the world. I went through 3 typhoons, never got seasick. But that was the only time. That was quite well. Anyway, then we another situation came up with me. The ship that was leaving needed a radio man and a gunner's mate. Well, who got picked as the gunner's mate? Me. They told me pack my gear. I packed my gear, and they put me ashore in the hotel, and I stayed there that night. And the next morning, they said they don't need you, so pack your gear and go back to the SS Robert Toombs. So that was one of my experiences. But it always seemed that anything going on, they'd always pick on me. Well, anyway, we loaded up. We had everything on there. You name it, we had it. So we took off. We did have a sub chaser with us in the Caribbean, and you could see it at nighttime bobbing up and down. And we went through the canal, and we didn't stop. We just kept on going. 10 knots, zigzag. I forget how many days. It took us quite a while to zigzag from the canal to Perth, Fremantle. Well, anyway, we got down there all right. There was 24 of us on this ship. The only bad feature about the ship, all it had was a 3-inch 50 on there. And we traveled in no convoy across the South Pacific, all by a zigzag. I'm lucky to be alive today, because anything we ran into, they could blow us out of the water, because we had the 3-inch 50. I was a tiller man on the 3-inch 50, and we had 20 millimeters. So we were mostly for aircraft, which we never ran into. Well, anyway, we ended up in Perth, Fremantle. One bad feature I found out on the Liberty ship, they couldn't make enough water for the whole crew. So we used to have to take saltwater showers. I don't know if you know about hot water. And we used to have to wash our clothes. But what we do most of the time is get a rope and tie the rope on our dungarees in the crotch and throw it over in the fantail. And that's how we'd get them washed. Well, anyway, we left Perth by ourselves, and we went to India, Karachi, yeah. And that's where we left our load. When you went ashore, you have to go through the village before you got the English-speaking community. It was in the English part. The theater was a theater there, and it was playing Yankee Doodle Dandy. And because way down front would be all broken seats, and as you further you came back, the seats were better. Well, because we were sailors, we had the money, and yeah, I'll never forget that Yankee Doodle, James Cagney. That was 1943. Yeah, and then when they finished unloading this. Well, I should perhaps tell this story. When you went to go down in the hole, you could go in there so far, but there's this wire mesh. You know, on the other side of the wire mesh was Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. Well, I don't drink beer, but I had a lot of Polacks on there who were great beer drinkers. And so I got the mesh far enough, so I got a couple of six-packs and walked back and told them, I says, how you guys like a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer? They're right, you know, set up, I will throw you overboard. And I showed it to them, and they went bananas. So it's a good thing I didn't get caught. So, well, that was one of the experiences I did, but we did go through the crossing the equator. Because a lot of the guys, the damn fools, they'd run and hide. Me, I volunteered right front because there'd only be about 3 guys could do it. And so, yeah, we had a 90-day wonder. That's an officer, we call them 90-day. Never saw much of them. But, well, anyway, from Karachi, we took off up through the Indian Ocean, still by ourselves. Of course, we were riding balance now because we got up to Madagascar. I never knew there was such a place. It was a tremendous island off of Africa. Then we rode ballast all the way up through the Indian Ocean to Madagascar. Madagascar, we picked up an English convoy, and we took the convoy from Madagascar down to Cape Town. Joined the convoy because we rode on the outside, and I know when we were all the way down, they must have detected some subs because the ship would vibrate when they were dropping them dip charges. And we were there a couple of days, and because it was a funny thing as a kid, I thought we were going to see all jungles and stuff like this, and although it wasn't skyscrapers in Cape Town. Well, anyway, we were there for 3 days. We went across the South Atlantic to Santos, and there we picked up a load of coffee, half a load, 100-pound bags. And when they finished loading us, we took off up to Rio de Janeiro, and they finished the load. But whoa, what a hot community that was. That's Rio de Janeiro. That was the sailor's paradise. Yeah, well, anyway, Rio de Janeiro, we had a fella killed on that ship. Because at nighttime, they wouldn't put the planks down. They just covered it with the canvas. Go 2 holes down. Well, this fellow ran across it. He ended down 2 decks below because I killed him. And, well, anyway, I was very fortunate because every time I'd go to a country like that, I'd always go to find the most interesting place. And down there, they had that crucifix up on the mountain. So I said, I gotta go up there. I went up there, and lo and behold, I met a fellow from Amesbury. Billy Murphy. He lived in Amesbury. He was, and so then we came back. Then we came back down, and we left in American convoy. The first night we stayed at Trinidad, and then we sailed up, and we ended up in Baltimore. If anybody wants to know Baltimore, where they just had that cargo ship run under that bridge and tipped the bridge down. Well, that's where we went in there, and we ran aground when we were docking. So then they sent me, there was an armed guard center in Brooklyn, New York. That was on the East Coast. And they sent me there. I went home on leave. I came back, and they said, you're being transferred. I says, where? They said, USS New Jersey. It's up in Portland, Maine, Casco Bay, on its winter shakedown. because it was just commissioned in June. It came up from the Caribbean, whenever they're going to change docks, they never told you where they're going. All they do is put on the bulletin board changing docks. So we ended up down in Boston. While we were down in Boston, I got a 3-day pass. Well, I only live 40 miles north of Boston, a community called Amesbury. And I went home for 3 days, and then I came back. Then we changed docks again, and we went down to Norfolk. We picked up the Iowa. It's the same class battleship as the New Jersey. That was the first one built. New Jersey was the second one. And we took off for the Panama Canal. And boy, did we have a hard job getting through that canal. We scraped the living daylights out of the ship. I used to have chunks of cement from well, anyway, we got through the canal all right, and that night we stayed at Balboa. Well, that was a big mistake, because when the New Jersey and the Iowa got together out in these bars drinking, they had a hell of a brawl. And we got really called down the next day on the ship. Then we took off, and we went up to, I can't think of the island anyway. But we started our operations there. But I was in the fire control. The only reason why I got the fire control is because I had a high school diploma. When we first went aboard, they were looking for, electricians, and there was 82 of us. And there was only 3 of us had a high school diploma. So I didn't know what the name of God did. It was a great division. No deck duty, no KP, no nothing. We were I call it one of the elite divisions. Anything with an A. Mine was FM division, and then the 5-inch was the FA division. The main battery was FM division. But there again, me and my big mouth, I got in trouble because there was an old sea dog on there in my division. We didn't rub eyes very good. We got in a few arguments, and next thing I know, I'm being transferred out of the division. I didn't go far because the whole crew went to bat for me. So he got shipped out, and I stayed in the division. So I was in there for that division for 25 months. Well, anyway, I ended up, majority of my time on New Jersey, I spent in Turret 3. I spent it in the after part of the room, and I spent it in the highest part of the ship. So I had quite an experience. I went out in the Pacific on the New Jersey, and I stayed out there 15 months. Not coming back to port. What we would do, we'd go into a lagoon, and they'd always have a hospital ship there for the officers, because they'd swing out Turret 3, and that's where we'd have our movies. So, and of course, another thing they used to do, they used to let us go ashore. Sometimes you had to swim in, sometimes the boat would take you in. But they'd have this low alcohol beer. Well, I never acquired a taste for beer, so I had more friends, and Carter had liver pills. So I was out there all that time. I have 11 battle stars. I have 2 from the Philippine government, and the 9 are from the United States, because we did every invasion. That what they would do, they'd take an island, do a job on it, capture it, then they'd hedge hop. They'd jump over and go to another island. And we'd also, while we were out there, if a new carrier came out, we'd take them to bomb an island. I can remember one island we went to, the Iowa, New Jersey. Got in a little too close. You could see this track, this gun on the track was running back and forth. I had a 6-inch in it, and the Iowa got hit twice, and we barreled out of there quicker. So it was quite an experience. We slept 6 high. The fellows who were on the bottom one would take a dungaree and hook it on the vent. And one guy would take one leg, and the other guy would take the other leg, and they get cool. Well, we wouldn't get any of that air because they were sucking on. I think I was up about the fifth one. Food was good. Yeah, I had no complaints. Wouldn't do you any good anyway. I had a buddy that lived next community back home. He lived in Newburyport, and I lived in Amesbury. And he was in the medics. Oh, because the medics tied up good with the mess cooks. And every once in a while, he'd get me 4 steaks from, Dan Sullivan, his name was. His father was a permanent firefighter in Newburyport. They called him Handsome Dan. I played football against him because Amesbury and Newburyport was a great rivalry back in them days. Dan. Yeah, he passed away here a few years ago. I'm the only one around. Yeah, they say the good die young. Well, I got 11 battle stars. We were in practically all of them. I can remember one. I think it was, I forget what island it was. We were right up on the shore with the landing craft. Because the water was so deep, we could ride right up with them. And that's the only time I remember. But because we could stay out 20 miles and shoot the guns and hit our target. That's what the range was for the battleships. But see, when in the task force, we had 2 battleships, 4 carriers. I forget how many cruisers, and then destroyers were outside. And of course, what we would do for the destroyers, we would refuel them when they need fuel, because we carried quite a bit, and because we had our own tankers out there with us too. The tanker would be in the middle, and the 2 battleships be here. Then on the outside of the battleships would be destroyers. That's how they were refueling them. Yeah, and the same way with the cargo ships. They came out and refueled, supplied us. It came time, it was getting near the end of the war, and they sent us home to get some repairs done. And I hadn't been home since 1943. This was 1945. And when we left, the Missouri, that was the 3rd battleship, just been commissioned, went out, took our place, and I guess it didn't do too good. But I always remember this. We had an aircraft carrier with us at the Bunker Hill. We had 4 Amesbury fellows aboard that, and I used to, when we go in these lagoons, I say, I got some relatives over there. I'd go and see the guy. But I always tell people, as long as the Bunker Hill traveled to New Jersey, she never got hit. No kamikaze, no nothing. And the minute we left, and the Missouri took over, she got pounded. Because when I came home from leave, the Bunker Hill was about 2 docks down, and I went to see how my friends made out. And they told me about this stairway that we were going down. It was a 500 bomb one down there, but it never exploded. So they were very, very fortunate. On the battleship, as long I was on it for 25 months, there was nobody killed, nobody wounded. There was accidents on the ship that I know one fellow got electrocuted, but as far as enemy fire, we never got. We sat in the middle of the convoy, because every 6 months we'd have a different commander go out there. We had Bull Halsey, which I got no use for, and Spruance. Because Bull Halsey took us into a typhoon that we lost 3 destroyers. And then another time, Bull Halsey got sucked out, I call it. There was 3 carriers leaving Japan. He got wind of it, but we were supposed to stay and protect Lady Gulf. What'd he do? Put up his battle flag and take the whole task force up chasing those 2 carriers. In the meanwhile, the Japanese come around with their heavy battleships and did a hell of a job on there, because they kept saying, Halsey, where are you, Halsey, where are you? But time he turned around, come back down, the Japs had gone. But there was this destroyer that did a hell of a job down there. The captain got killed, and all they had down there was small flat tops, and they were mostly flat tops that ferried planes out to the Pacific. Well, anyway, when the war was over, we were supposed to be the flagship that the peace treaty signed on. Because old Harry was the president. The president got his way for his battleship, and they didn't see that much action. I thought it stunk. You know, we were out there. We were the flagship. We were the most decorated battleship in the United States Navy. And old Uncle Harry comes along and gives it the Missouri, and they only been out there for 1 engagement. How would you feel, or anybody feel? I thought we were really robbed. Yeah. No, I think we got robbed. You don't hear many people talk about it, but I talk about it all the time. Of course, that's politics anyway. It isn't. My father always told me, it isn't what you know, it's who you know. So I always took that. And especially, they wouldn't let us stay there during the ceremony. They shipped us out. They shipped us to the Philippines. And all of the Philippines, Manila was all a bunch of sunken ships in that harbor. We had a hard job maneuvering around. Then after the ceremony got over, they shipped us out of Manila and they shipped us to Japan. And that's when we did our occupation duty. So we ended up in Yokosuka. And that's where I did my sightseeing and actually occupation duty. Because when they lined us up on the deck for and the other conquerors and all this bull. But I did go into a home and sat on the floor with them. But I wouldn't eat anything because I didn't trust them. but they pulled a lot of tricks they shouldn't. The United States sailors and soldiers did. They'd go into a store and they'd form a line and they'd pass the stuff out without paying for it. So it got so bad that the shore patrol and the MPs, if you didn't have a receipt, you got taken back to the brig. Another thing that happened when we would go to Yokohama or Tokyo, we used to be able to ride the train. Well, it got so bad that sailors and the Marines and soldiers were throwing the Japs off the train because they didn't have a seat. So that was stopped. We used to have to go up by landing craft to Yokohama and Tokyo. But there was nothing much up there to see in Yokohama because it was level and Tokyo was level. I did go see the moat where the emperor lived because that was well guarded by United States troops.